So I decided as I was making my last video that I'm just going to record my thoughts on Love Never Dies, and then eventually I will edit both videos and they'll be up when I get around to them. So, Love Never Dies. I made the mistake of seeing Phantom of the Opera the night before I saw Love Never Dies, which you would think would be helpful because it's like a sequel and you should see them, you know, like back to back. But it just made me more disappointed, I think, in Love Never Dies because I'd just seen the original and it was so awesome because it was John Owen Jones and Sophia and they just were like super spot on. So then we went and saw Love Never Dies the next day, and it didn't compare anyway, like, before I'd even seen it. You know, I've listened to the music, I've read the plot, and it didn't compare, but after seeing it juxtaposed with the original, it just fell so flat for me. Even the music just wasn't that impressive. There's some really nice melodies in it, but the lyrics kill me most of the time. So yeah, we got to the theater, and we bought the cheapest possible ticket, so, you know, like, upper circle, back row, you know, absolutely awful. But they were cheap, and I wasn't planning on spending a lot of money on seeing this show. However, and I can personally attest to this isn't Love Should Die making it up, quite a lot of the upper circle was empty, like, at least 5 or 6 rows in front of us were empty, so we just moved down to, like, the lower part of the upper circle, but I did have a friend who went with her family, and they completely closed the upper circle and moved them down to the dress circle, so I'm not the only one they're getting their reports from, but I can personally attest to the fact that it wasn't full at least twice when I was there. Anyway, on to the show. So yes, I did actually see it before the cast change happened, which was kind of nice. I have to say, though, I think I was actually a little bit disappointed in the main cast. I don't know if it's just because the show wasn't good, so I just was like, that wasn't that great, but I think the show makes a mistake starting out with Till I Hear You Sing right after the overture, because a lot of people have compared it to the music of the night of Love Never Dies, except it comes in, 2 minutes after the show starts, whereas in Phantom of the Opera, this huge, breathtaking number comes in like 40 minutes into the show, and it's after a couple of really awesome, cool songs, like Think of Me is a really good, impressive song, and then right after the mirror and the journey down to the lair, and then, it's all exciting and stuff, and then there's just this, quiet, melodic, sort of lullaby-y, beautiful song, and, you wouldn't start the original with Music of the Night. It kind of just would take the excitement, I think, out of it. So that was kind of, I didn't really like that change that much with the show, and so then it felt like the in-between after Till I Hear You Sing was kind of just, I don't know, weird to me. I'm not a huge fan of projection screens, so Andrew Lloyd Webber's new, like, I don't know, obsession with that kind of isn't really my cup of tea. So with projection screens, he used them in Wizard of Oz and Love Never Dies, and I'm not a fan of them. They weren't that bad in Wizard of Oz, but in Love Never Dies, it was like a transition scene showing Coney Island and all of that, and my eyes were, like, dying, because there were people behind the screen doing stuff, but then there was stuff on the screen to make it look cooler, except I just, like, couldn't focus on either of them, so my eyes were, like, didn't know what to look at. And I think that was kind of drawn out with all the circusy, freaky people, and whatever, didn't really care that much, and then it doesn't seem any more believable when you see it on stage that Meg is obsessed with the Phantom, and Madame Giry knew him because she didn't in the original. I will stand by that, even though people keep insisting that she did, because that's in the movie, and the sequel is a sequel to the stage show, not the movie. And in the stage show, she didn't rescue him from gypsies. She saw him at a traveling circus, and then, or a traveling fair of freaks, and then she saw him again in the darkness of the opera house at some point, and she kind of was like, God, and she's scared of him because he's killed people, and she's smart. But, so somehow they found him and became friends with him, and now Meg's obsessed with him, and it didn't really, you know, I was like, whatever at this point. I hated her songs. Summer Strallin's really nice, she's a really good dancer, and she's got a nice voice, but I just felt like the part was a waste of her life, much like the show was kind of a waste of mine. And so some other stuff happens that I'm just like, whatever about, and Christine finally arrives with an invitation from Hammerstein, and I'm still not sure if that was like a fake invite, or it was really an invite and the Phantom kidnapped her, because, you would think that they would realize something was odd when Hammerstein, I don't know if they didn't know what kind of stuff he performed or whatever, but I don't think he would send a glass carriage with 3 freaks in it. I think they probably should have thought that something was up at that point. I did, however, enjoy Dear Old Friend. I thought it was funny because even though the characters are all a mess in the show and shouldn't be like that at all, it was funny to see them recognize each other and think, oh my god, what the hell happened to each other, all of us, and then singing like they didn't notice, or they were like, oh, it's so great to see you even though now you're kind of a slut, and oh, it's great to see you even though you're, in an unhappy marriage, and you have debts, so that was kind of funny. I enjoyed that a little bit. And it takes Raoul forever to realize that the Phantom is the one that did this, I guess, maybe. I can't remember if that was in there, if that was before the changes. Anyway, so they kind of get kidnapped, and through projection screens show that they're not going to Hammerstein's, they're going to the Phantom's Larry place. And I, again, don't know if that was, like, real, that they were invited by him, or that was just, like, a ploy. But then later, the Phantom says, like, your contract with Hammerstein's taken care of, which I still think, I don't know if she was, like, the main attraction again. She was a big performer, because the Phantom must have been, like, announcing it or something, that Christine was singing his aria. You think Hammerstein would have noticed and been like, what the F, you're supposed to be singing for me? Apparently not. Anyway, so then Raoul's a D-bag and won't play with Gustav, and then the music box starts playing, and the Phantom comes through a window, because it's supposed to be the balcony, I guess, because they go on it later after Beneath the Moonless Sky, which I still hate that song. I hate it on principle of Christine going and finding the Phantom who, hid for years from people, and going and finding him and then having sex before her wedding, because she was tormented by her choice. Which, okay, I could see the tormented a little bit, but seeing them together, I don't think she would have chosen the Phantom out of love. I think she chose him to save Raoul, and out of, I think, more compassion and pity than love. I don't buy the whole Eric, Christine are soulmates thing. I think they have a connection, but I think he's also a psychopathic murderer with no social skills, and I think their relationship would be really unhealthy. So, I think her ending up with Raoul was the better option, because he's an emotionally stable guy. Well, he was in the original. Apparently he's not anymore. Whatever. So then we go into Once Upon Another Time, which I just felt like 2 songs together singing about what they had and what could have been and what they wanted was kind of drawn out a little bit. Too much. And then he threatens to kidnap the kid. Really? That's his master plan, is to kidnap Gustav. That's how he's going to win her back. I mean, I get that he wanted to hear her sing, but I kind of thought the point of her coming and singing for him was to get her to realize that she wanted to be with him. I don't think threatening to kidnap the kid is really going to help with his situation there. But regardless, he does. Christine's now kind of like, shit, what do I do? He's threatening to kidnap my kid, and it'll pay my debts, because he'll pay her a lot of money and stuff. Meh, whatever. Then some more stuff happens. I didn't really like the Beauty Underneath staging. I haven't liked it since I saw that stupid, like, 8-limbed gorilla playing the organ and the skeleton walking by. It's so campy and stupid that he'd be inventing that kind of crap after the lair in the original. I didn't like it. And we kind of were just sitting there the whole time. My sister and I, her friend, were friends too. The three of us were just sitting there the whole time going, like, is this really happening? It had so much, like, trying to be flashy, but the set wasn't really, it was pretty bare set, which I think it tried to copy Phantom in, because Phantom doesn't have a ton of stuff either. Like, the manager's office is a desk and a curtain. You know, it's not really a big deal. But it was underwhelming, and my sister's friend turns to me and goes, at the end, she looks at us and goes, so there's all that crazy shit in his lair, and he's afraid of his face? Like, you know, really, would he be that afraid? Probably not. So then the Phantom confronts Christine isn't in here, but I know that's the song name, where he finds out that the kid is his, which arguably is not true, but I've talked about that before. And then he's like, oh, everything will go to him, Madame Giry's upset, end of Act 1. Angelo, sei con me, ti sento